Welcome to the College Essay Advisors podcast. Before we introduce ourselves, here's a little preview of what's to come.
I think the personal growth is equally, if not more important than the actual accomplishment or event or realization, because we're
Absolutely.
looking to see how you've processed that moment.
Welcome to College Essay Advisors podcast, an ongoing exploration of how to write college admissions essays that get you noticed and accepted. Hello, everyone. My name is Stacey Brooke, and I am the founder and chief advisor at College Essay Advisors.
Hi, I'm Becca Myers, and I am the director of advising at the same place,
Yeah,
College Essay Advisors.
that's the place. That's the one. We are here to talk to you today about Common Apps prompt number 5.
Yeah. And,
Love this prompt. Love
love
it.
it.
One of
Could
my
put
all-time
it on a
favorites.
poster and hang it. I
Greatest
will
hits.
start by reading it because we're learning. We
Yeah.
have our own personal growth in this podcast. And one of
Yeah.
the things we've learned is that we should read the prompt before we go on about it endlessly. So here's that prompt. Discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. That or doesn't mean and, it means or. That's a choice there.
Just want to say, we could write killer college essays about making this podcast.
I
This
w-
is a
I'd also
brilliant
like to say
idea.
we should do a whole episode on conjunctions because some people think there's an and where there's an or. You don't always have to answer everything, right?
This seems to be something you've encountered, maybe even more than I have. We'll get to that.
Can you tell it in my shaking, angry voice? Yeah.
Absolutely not. So yes, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. I like to call this the accomplishment essay. And one of the reasons that I love this prompt is because it is rife with options, kind of along the lines of prompt number 1. If you read it slowly and you break it down, you'll see they're giving you a million different paths to follow in terms of brainstorming and idea generation. So you can discuss among the things listed an accomplishment, an event, a realization. So many things to choose from there. And all of these can be things that are large scale, small scale, things that happened in a second, in a minute, over the course of time. An accomplishment can be something tangible like getting a job offer, or it can be, something a little bit more abstract, like
My example was that I fixed a toilet yesterday, but that's not abstract. But it was an accomplishment.
yes. Or, becoming a more realized version of yourself. I wouldn't necessarily go so broad, but gaining self-confidence. I think we'll come up with some more examples as we go, and we have some better ones to sling your way. But accomplishment, event, an event can be something as
A
sort of
100-meter race? No.
it could be a 100-meter race. It could be a quinceañera. It could be a single drive back and forth to gymnastics with your mother every morning. I think these terms can and are meant to be interpreted widely and broadly, and you're supposed to break the boundaries of what these terms mean. That's how you get creative answers
Yes.
out of this.
But within that creativity, there is a structure. And so you'll notice that this is a prompt that is rife and is full. So you need to not spend 600 words on the event. You need to balance it with the personal growth. I think the personal growth is equally, if not more important than the actual accomplishment or event or realization, because we're
Absolutely.
looking to see how you've processed that moment.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
Should we
Let's
some examples?
Let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's do it.
do
'Cause
it.
I think those are going to be helpful in showing the broad range of directions one can move in. So one of the ones I worked on with a student that I really loved. This student worked in a firehouse.
Firehouse subs. No, firehouse. Do you have a firehouse subs where you are?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
Are
I'm
these
in
in New York
upstate New
City?
York. So there's shout out to Firehouse if you want to sponsor us. They're amazing. They give out little, I'm sorry, I'm derailing this or
I
whatever
mean,
the appropriate Firehouse term is for that. You get little Firehouse hats when you're a kid and you go in there, and their whole store has like a Firehouse siren on top of it. So at night it just emanates this sort of like red glow.
this student, he did not work for Firehouse Subs. He worked for an actual firehouse. And I believe that when he was hired, he expected, he would be wearing a fire suit and hanging off a fire truck and helping to actually put out fires. When what actually happened for the first 2 months was he washed the floors and organized power tools and did all of the things that one needs to do to really understand how a firehouse operates inside and out. And it was a humbling experience for him. It was an experience that taught him a wide range of skills that he didn't know he was going to learn. And ultimately, at the end of the day, he left with a lot of respect um, for people who do and the ability to do everything from sweeping the floor to wrangling the hose. Ultimately, I think he came away from the experience with respect for the people who throw themselves into tasks like washing the windows, and the skills required in that, as much as the people who wear the fire hats that they maybe didn't get at Firehouse Subs, and put out actual fires.
Those hats are
Um,
not sturdy or meant for actual.
yes,
Yeah.
disclaimer. So I think that idea of that period of his life ultimately leading to personal growth and the understanding that a mastery of small skills often leads to the ability to conquer larger challenges is ultimately what he took from that. And then he discussed some examples of how that applied in his life since then.
Love that because it also is an essay about a hard worker who doesn't have to be in the limelight or the fire glow or whatever we want to call it. I love
Mhm.
essays that highlight students having jobs where they're sweeping, where they're doing things that are not like academic or
Glamorous.
abstract.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I similarly, I didn't write down this example, but I was thinking about a student. I don't even know if they picked this prompt, but they had an essay about trying out for a musical and not making the show at all. And then discovering that they still wanted to participate and doing work behind the scenes, like as a stagehand, and then realizing how rewarding that was in a different way, like operating the lights. And that became more of a love actually than the performance part. Like they actually realized that doing that was more rewarding for them, and that the performance part was actually they wanted to be part of something larger. They didn't actually like performing that much. They liked being backstage. And so then they continued to do that for years and years. The realization part was actually, I think, when they were younger, maybe middle school. And then most of the essay in high school was about how they threw themselves into working behind the scenes. I like that.
I worked with a student who discussed how she like kind of life hacked her way through having type 1 diabetes, and how it taught her to be a better problem solver in general. And she did end up using this prompt and talking about how it was a period of growth and realization, but she just as easily could have paired this with the number 2 problem solving prompt, or the tell us something about yourself that admissions needs to know about you, prompt number 1. And again, when that happens, I think it's confirmation that you're on the right track, discussing something that's essential enough to who you are for admissions to want to know about it.
Yeah. I have one more example too, if I can jump in.
Yeah.
So I worked with a student whose father was from South Africa, and he traveled to Johannesburg for the first time when he was like 8 or 9 years old. Enjoyed it, but at 8 or 9, you're not necessarily like thinking so much about your heritage or soaking it all up or like even envisioning how this might connect to you when you're older. And it wasn't until high school when he sat down or stood in the kitchen with his dad and he was making this like dried meat delicacy that has like brown sugar, coriander. I think it's called biltong. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, biltong. And making this delicacy, it is a slow process, like the way you have to dry the meat, you preserve it. And so his essay, it was actually what I call a metaphor essay. And I love these as a poet. So it was about the ways that he connected to his father's roots slowly, almost like the way you preserve this dried meat delicacy. And the realization for him was that it wasn't actually traveling there. It was being in the kitchen with his father making this and talking through the process, and his dad sharing stories about his childhood while making this together was the thing that made him realize that he had a pretty rich heritage. And I just thought that was like such an amazing take on this, that it was not going to the country, it was being with your father outside of the country and hearing him talk about it really deeply that connected him.
I love that. And I'm also starving. If you can make
If
an
anyone
admissions
wants
officer hungry,
I know.
they will
And
remember you. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you got some valuable information out of this, and we're excited to talk to you about the last 2 prompts. So tune in.
tune in. That's our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening or watching. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to follow us for more. Happy writing.